already gotten my release.
Okay.
I've decided that we're going to be cautious, make sure there's no travel to and from South Africa and 6 other countries in that region, and except for American citizens who are able to come back. But we don't know a lot about the variant, except that it is a great concern. It seems to spread rapidly, and I spent about a half hour this morning with my COVID team led by Dr. Fauci, and so that was the decision we made.
Sir, why not in a meeting?
What do you think about President Biden and what he had to say?
That was kind of an interesting moment. I don't understand the move. I've encountered this among other people too. It's not just Joe Biden, where you approach a group of people and in order for them to understand you clearly, you take your mask off. So like Biden, he's wearing the mask as he's walking down the streets of Nantucket with the Secret Service. But the second he approaches the press, like once you get to a group of people, he takes the mask off.
My assumption, and I could be wrong because the video doesn't show this. My assumption is that he was in a vehicle, you know, with the Secret Service. So he had his mask on. And like many of us, when we walk out of a vehicle, out of a building, we have our masks on, and sometimes we forget to take it off. Then he approached the public, or excuse me, the press. And I'm assuming that they gave him 6 feet. It looked like he had a lot of space there.
Maybe.
Then they're outdoors. Like, you've been one of the biggest proponents of this, and you have been 100% correct in that outdoors, you don't necessarily need your mask. I'm assuming that he was in a car or in a building with the Secret Service, and that's when he had the mask on.
Okay, so I'll allow for maybe there's context I'm missing here, but here's what I'll tell you. As the video begins, you see the cars are kind of tracking alongside the side of the street as he's walking. They're rolling. The cars are rolling as he's walking. I believe, and he's holding an umbrella. I think he's just out for a walk with the Secret Service. Now, even if he is just getting out of the car, just the whole thing, all of them wearing masks, you're right. It goes right to my point. They shouldn't be wearing masks outside. Plenty of space to breathe. The air circulation is great. Knock it off. But the point is, like, Biden walks up to the press, and that's when he sheds the mask off his face. And I'm like, I've had waiters do this. Like, I'm in restaurants, they'll come up and they'll be like, to share the specials, they'll take the masks off. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. You know, I don't mind. I'm not the least bit offended. I don't care. They don't have to wear masks as far as I'm concerned. But it is amusing to me. I'm like, what's the point if you're going to shed the mask when you arrive at the table? And then he's talking about the travel restrictions that he just put in place on Friday. So there's a panic, at least on Friday especially. There was a panic around the emergence of what they're referring to as the Omicron virus. Now, they skipped a couple names, the World Health Organization, when they got to Omicron. They skipped NU, which is new. They didn't want English speakers to be confused that it was the only, quote, new variant. So they skipped new. That's what WHO said. And then they also skipped the G variant, XI, because that would have been the next letter in the alphabet. The claim by the World Health Organization is that they didn't want to, basically cast aspersions on anybody who happens to be named G. And I'm sitting there like thinking, who could they be talking about? Who might that involve?
Isn't that pronounced Xi, or is that pronounced G in the Greek alphabet as well?
It's a good question. I'm going to rely on you for that.
Xi? I don't know. You know, I'm not a fraternity guy, but I think XI in the Greek alphabet is not pronounced G like it is in Chinese.
But here's what I'm thinking though, as Biden does this. I really hope that this is much ado about nothing. And also, like the instant panic, like let's slow the hell down. I mean, the markets dropped hard on Friday. And people were freaking out that this variant was going to be a big deal. The South African people who shared this, the scientists, they were like, wait a second, why are you locking down travel to our country? All we did was assess this virus and say, well, this is what we've discovered, and this is what we get for information sharing. By the way, did we tell you that hospitalizations haven't risen meaningfully in South Africa? Did we tell you that the people who we've found with this version of the virus have had very mild symptoms so far? They said all of this over the weekend. The American news media reacted pretty hysterically to this. And should slow down.